All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to see if we can figure out our shifter issues. I think in the end of the last video I said, oh, maybe it's got a stretched cable, but I didn't really know what the heck I was talking about. I did a little bit of research and I talked to some friends who have also dealt with shifter issues in their 8th gen. And it seems like the shift selector could be bent or marred or damaged or just worn. Or maybe I have bent a shifter cable, like kinked an end of it or something. I'm not too sure. So with that knowledge rattling around between our ears, we'll start inspecting this thing. I think first things first, I'll probably take the airbox off the car and we'll have a look at the shifter tower bushings, and maybe we'll pull that assembly out and have a look at that little selector. We'll also pull part of the center console apart, or maybe take it right out, I'm not sure yet, and get in there and have a look at the cables on that end and see if anything jumps out to us. So yeah, let's dig into it, see what we can find. Also, let's have a look at these tires. Look at that, the wear indicator is essentially gone. First day, that's good. We got some nice chunks missing out of the center. That one's a good one. There's one over here too. Yeah, they're looking hag. I also got severe brake dustage, you can see there. Finger. Smell my finger. All right. Let's take the airbox out of there and see what we see. Okay? Okay. All right, I'm no expert. That's something you already know. Let me show you something you don't know. I think I might have found an issue. Well, I definitely found an issue. Is it the issue? I don't know, but let's look at it, okay? So, you see that right there? How the cable is sitting off to the side here, not centered. There's like tension on it, and this thing is flopping out of here. I don't know if it's supposed to just flop in and out. I have no idea. I'm gonna go check the cable on my parts car, but I'm pretty sure that's an issue. So let me go look at the other car and we'll see what we see. All right, here is our shift cables on this car. We got them wrapped in the harness. Come on now, get out of there. Get out of there, come on. All right, here we go. So, you can see that is not separated. It also doesn't feel like it's supposed to separate. And that feels fluent. It isn't hooked up to anything on the inside, mind you, but with that one. So, might go disconnect the cable on this car and see how it feels disconnected, but I'm pretty sure that's our issue. All right, so I just pulled the shifter off of the, or I pulled the cable off of the actual actuator, and so I can pull this back farther, and you can see that that cable is thoroughly bent right here. So either I buy new cables, or I use the cables off that parts car, which are just as old as these cables because they have similar mileage. Or my buddy Shane has a set of cables with about 110,000 kilometers that are in nice shape. So I could buy his. I could buy my used, or I could not buy my used ones. I could use my used ones, or I could buy a set of brand new ones. So I got to decide what I'm going to do here. But I'll get back to you guys when we decide how we're going to fix this, all right? Alright, since I live in the boondocks, I've decided I'm going to use my spare set out of the parts car and then install them in the car because they're not bent. That'll get me by, and I'll probably order a new set and install the new set when I get it and when I have the time to put it in. So for now, I've actually put the engine side of things back together because I have an appointment I got to drive to here in a few. But I started taking apart the inside so that when I get back from my appointment, I can just start tearing it apart. So I've just got the center console out here, as you can see. It's pretty easy. For those not familiar, you have 2 clips in the front. You have to pull the bottom tray off the glove box. Once you pull your center bezels out, you've got 2 8mm bolts, and then you have 2 8mm bolts in your center console as well. So after you do that, you unplug your connections down here, and then everything pulls right out. So now I have access to the shift cables, so I'll just have to untwist this guy here, the one down here, and then remove these 2 off of the tower. The part I'm most worried about is getting the heat shield out from around the stock cat and exhaust. As I was saying, my GoPro did crazy stuff to me. The part I'm most worried about is getting the heat shield out from the bottom of the car around the stock cat and exhaust. Could be difficult. It has to come out because the bolts for the shifter grommet on the bottom go up from the bottom. So, well, actually they're nuts with studs on top, but you have to get it from the bottom is the point. So that should be fun, but we'll tackle that in a few once I get back. So I'll get back to you guys once I got the car jacked up and we start taking things apart again. All right, I got updates. I pulled the shifter cables out of the parts car. Here they are right here. See, stock bushings, which I'm going to leave. Everything seems to be in decent shape. It all moves freely, so it'll be a good temporary fix. I'm gonna run these until I can get a new set. Got the intake taken back apart again. And you can see this car did have the Acuity bushings put in it. I didn't put these in the car. I bought it like this. So I don't think I'm gonna put these back in. They feel tight to me, kind of strange, I'm not sure. I don't know if that was a leading cause of this bending, so I'm gonna stick with the OEM bushings on the second set of cables I put in here. Anyway, so to take the cables out, we just gotta pull these 2 pins off here. These just slide off like that. And then we'll get a screwdriver in and we'll pop this clip out and this clip out. And then underneath the car, I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna bring you along because there's not a lot of room under there. So it's a tight space. I'll just show you what we got going on here. So we've got the bracket right there. It's hard to get the light on it, but there's a bracket right there, 2 bolts holding the cables. There's another one at the top of the tunnel right there with 2 bolts, and then underneath the actual heat shield is the plate, and there's 1 bolt that you cannot access. So I'm going to attempt to take this heat shield off. I am not taking the exhaust off this car. There's no freaking way I'm doing that. So I'm gonna do my best to get that heat shield out of there so I can access those other bolts. And then I just got to get up in the car and undo the 2 shifter cables from the actual tower. I've already taken the console out, which I already showed you guys, so I just got to get this guy out and then that guy out, and then should be good to go. I got the cables out of the red car here, as you can see. I want to go over a few things, throw some knowledge down your ear holes that I'm learning as I go. So, thing number 1. My car, after this was bent, 2nd, 4th, and 6th felt absolutely fine. But 1st, 3rd, 5th felt like there was friction and you weren't getting that, like, that satisfying clunk into gear. So, I was wondering, like, why is just 1, 3, 5 messed up? So if you look at this cable, which it's severely bent, you can see there's a bend here and there's a bend here. So when I push this in, because it's bent, it has a lot of friction, okay? So you can see I have to forcefully push that in to get that to travel. So in turn, when this is being pushed in, the end at the shifter is being pulled out. So that's the same as if you pretend my left hand here is the shifter. When I put the car in 3rd gear, 1st gear, 5th gear, The shifter moves forward, but the bottom of the shifter moves backward, which is pulling this back. So that explains why only 1, 3, and 5 had the weird friction, because they had to pull it past the bent spot. Every time I'd go into third, it'd be like pulling this back, and it's got to get through that friction, and that's why it felt so weird. Secondly, like I said, I did not install these shifter bushings. I bought the car with these. It's kind of given me a different thought on these. Like, I don't know if they're good, because this is really tight to move. Now, I don't know if this is just the case of mine, if it was installed incorrectly, or if this is how they are, but this is really difficult to move around. I have to put quite a bit of force to do that. So that makes me think, if this was binding at all, even a slight bit, that's going to put more force on this junction. So if this was bound up a bit and I really tried to rush it into second gear, then that caused that to bend, right? Whereas when you go to the stock bushing, yeah, it's loose, it has play, but like, look how freely it can spin. So there should never be binds there. And if you do rush it and it binds or something, this bushing's movement will probably save the cable likely. So interesting find anyways. I did buy an Acuity shifter and hybrid bushings for this car, so I'm going to be weary about installing that. I want to make sure it feels good so I don't damage any cables or damage anything on this car. But I'm almost wondering if people are upgrading to these bushings, if they should be upgrading their cables too. Because the extra stiffness here is just presenting a new weak spot, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's the insight I have on that. Love it, hate it, whatever you think. I don't really care, but that's what I learned. So I am going to uninstall these cables from this base bracket, and I will start installing the used set into the car. And like I said, I'm sticking with these bushings, so I'll get back to you guys when I get the car together, and we'll see how it feels. Maybe we'll take it for a quick drive and go from there. All right, see you guys in a few minutes, but for you, half a second. Okay, bye. All right, I'm gonna throw one more piece of information down your ear holes. The stock heat shield is an absolute pain in the butt to get off. If you are doing shift cables on your 8th Gen SI and you still have a stock header, stock exhaust manifold, stock cat, stock exhaust, the cat makes this job awful. It's in the way of basically everything. So one tip I would say when reassembling, you'll notice that this bolt hole is slotted from the factory and this one is not. But these are both kind of hard to get at. This is the second hardest one to get at. But I would say, mine's broken as you can see here, but even if it wasn't, take a pair of tin snips and snip the center of this out and slot it so that it's slotted like this one. So you don't have to take those two bolts right out. If you ever do the job again, you just have to loosen them and then the heat shield will slide back. And same with these two, are really tight to get off. I might just stick a slightly bigger bit, like just a tiny bit, tiny bit bigger I should say, into each of these so that they slide on and off easier. Just easier to get it in and out without bending it. So that's all I got to say. Take it or leave it. Alright, so as you can see, got the used cables in, stock bushings all clipped in. Everything's buttoned up underneath, got the heat shield all done. And here she is. It's much nicer, it's how it should feel. It's nice and smooth going forward, no friction, and then it clunks into gear nicely. So that's it. she's a done deal. Also, I just want to say, like, I know people always buy these base bushings for these things because they're like, oh, there's so much play, it makes your shifter so much better. But like, I got a reef on this thing and it moves the whole aluminum brace, but it doesn't move the black bottom really. Like, waste of money unless you're just going for bling, I guess. But that's her, guys. Glad it was a simple fix, just a shifter cable, and I had the spare ones. I'll probably run these used ones for a bit, and I'll probably buy a brand new set to go in the car. I think I've already told you that. And I'll install it at some point, just so they're nice and tight, because being an autocross car, it's going to get a lot of first to second abuse, so might as well keep everything as tight as I can. But for now, I'll just run it with this, and I'll try to be nicer when I shift it into second at autocross. But yeah, glad she's fixed. Next time you see this car, I'll probably be taking it to another race, so see you guys then.